So, I haven't made bread buns for quite a while now. I've done fudgies, I've done the baguettes, I've done bloomers, etc, etc. And I was getting into making bread buns for a little bit, and then it kind of stopped. However, the bread buns I was making before, I was using the same recipe which I was using for the bloomers, which is great for the bloomers, but I think it's a little bit rich. Don't get me wrong, it makes a nice bun, but I wanted to kind of make a more of a standard flavoured bun. So I did at one point have a go, and I come up with a new recipe for bread buns which didn't include eggs and butter. It still did have some fat in, which I added in the way of olive oil. Anyway, so I'm going to have another go today, but I'm going to swap a couple of things up and see where we go, see where we get to. So, if you're interested, this is it. So, I'm using a different flour. Now, I normally use my Matthews Cotswold 12.5% bread flour. However, I'm changing it up and I'm using a finer ground flour, typically used in pizza and pasta making. It's still the same strength, it's still 12.5% protein, and the one I'm actually using, it's called Caputo, very well known brand of flour, Caputo, Italian brand, and I normally use it for making pizzas. However, and I just exclusively use it for making pizzas. However, I thought, well, hang on, it's the same protein, and if it's going to possibly give me a better finish with the texture, I'll give it a whiz. So this is it. This is the maiden voyage. So you're about to be witness to something great or something disastrous, which I know what you're thinking. I know. It's probably the latter, but let's get on with it. So pretty much bog standard thing. Turn my scales on. Let's get going with it. So I want 500 Gs, 500 grams of me strong white flour, which I say I'm using the Caputo pizza flour. It has pizza on the front. Like I said, the difference is it's actually a finer ground. It's what they call tipo 00, which has nothing to do with the strength or anything like that. It's purely the grind. It's a finer grind. And that's that. So let's crack on. Let's see where we're going to get to here. So, I need some water. I should have been prepared with the water, but let's crack on. So, change number 2. Instead of using instant yeast, I went to Tesco's, that's the nice baker man, and he gave me some fresh yeast for free. And that's all you do. You find yourself a supermarket that has a bakery, and you go in and you say, can I have some fresh yeast? Well, say whatever you like, but that's what I said. And he said, yeah, there you go, there's some fresh yeast. So we've got some. Used to be able to buy it years ago. Can't buy it anymore now. I don't know, well, probably can online, but you can't buy it from the supermarket. Right, I want 10 grams of fresh yeast, and all I'm going to do is break it up. 7, 8, 9, 12. That's all right, that's fine. I was going for a bit more in, but yeah, 10 grams. I think a standard is between probably 5 and 10 grams in 500 grams of flour. But the recipe, it can go up, so it's not a problem. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break that up a little bit. And I know what you're going to say. Didn't you used to have to mix it with water and let it stand and go frothy and all of it? Yes, yeah. Back in the day when I didn't used to trust it. See, when you were making, like back then, everything was a bit more frugal. So they never wanted to waste your flour and things like that. So what you wanted to do is make sure your yeast was working first. So prove your yeast was okay, it wasn't dead, because yeast is a living thing. So by putting it in some warm water and sometimes a bit of sugar in there, it kind of just gets active and it starts bubbling, doing its thing. You know it's good to go. But if the bakers are using it in Tesco's, I'm guessing, and I only got it yesterday, I'm guessing it's good to go. But I think, when it's been sitting in the fridge for 2 weeks and stuff like that, it was always worth giving it a test to see if it was good to go. So that's mixed through me flour. Now I'd normally say put your salt on the opposite side. Now we've just mixed it through the flour, so it's incorporated in the flour. So I always put yeast, salt. I kind of go in order so I don't get mixed up. So I'm putting 10 grams of salt, which is standard for a 500 gram recipe of bread. So 9, get a bit more in there. Go on, let's have you. God, that last gram's always the hardest one to get out, isn't it? I always try to be very careful I don't over add, but there we go. Next thing I'm going to put in dough improver. Now what does it do? It improves the dough. So I'm going to add 10 grams of dough improver. So it improves with things like the texture, the bread rise will be better. Now I did experiment recently with fudgies with and without the bread improver, and there was a marked difference in the rise between the two. So some people don't like it because they think it's an additive. It's actually a naturally occurring substance. In bakeries, they quite often used to use vitamin C. Vitamin C, you know, our body needs vitamin C, and what it does is it kind of just boosts the yeast, gives it a real good boost, and helps it just work that bit better. So it improves that, but it also improves the keeping quality of the bread. That's why I use it, and it does make a difference. So not essential, and I only used to put 5 grams in. And what I would say is, if your rise is too much and you think, well, it's too big, just back it off a bit. But you know, for the sake of just adding a little bit more, I buy a bucket full now. The one I'm using, because I know people ask, yeah, it's called Bacon Beauty and Beyond. I like to say it's more cost, because I do make a lot of bread, more cost effective. But if you're adverse to using it and you don't like the idea of it, leave it out. That's it. Just leave it out. No problems at all. Leave it out. It's like I said, purely optional. I'm using it because I do know it makes a difference, and I'd like to know the difference that the fresh yeast makes. Because last time I did an experiment, the only discernible difference I could tell was just the smell of the bread, which was nicer. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't notice any discernible difference. However, that's not really scientific, is it? Just doing it once. So we're going to give it another try, see where we go, and it was for free. So there you go. There's another win. So, and if it's better, then that's a win-win. Free and better. Brilliant. Can't ask more. Milk powder. Again, purely optional, but it improves the flavour. It gives a softer crumb, more tender crumb. The complexity of flavour increases. It gives a very mild, not discernible, but a very mild sweetness. And it also changes because of the kind of the milk which is involved. It can improve the crust colour as well. Now I'm putting 40 grams in. Sometimes I'll put 50 in, but let's go with 40 for now and see where we go. I don't want to change too much with this recipe, because the last one I did, I put 40 grams in, and if I'm changing and using yeast, fresh yeast, I kind of want to know what the difference is between the two. So there's my milk powder in. Right, now once all your dries are done, now it's wet. So at which point, if I was using egg, I'd put egg in. Now at which point I'm using butter, I'd probably, even though butter's not a wet, it's still not a dry one. I put butter in now. So let's get in 45 grams of oil. So this can also change the colour of a crust. This gives keeping quality, gives a tenderness to it, a moistness to the bread. It makes it less dry. That's what we put fats in for. So there's a reason for everything, and I like to know why I'm adding an ingredient. Why am I adding it? Does it make a difference? Yeah, I'm just doing it because the recipe says, and it's not worthwhile doing. So everything I'm putting in there, I know the reason why I'm putting it in. So the next, we're going to get in with 350 grams of water. And I never use mils, I always use grams, and the reason I use grams, it's more accurate. You try to measure 50 mils and I'll guarantee you won't get 50 mils. If you weigh 50 mils or 50 grams, you'll get exactly 50 mils because it equates with water 1 to 1. Certain liquids are different, but in the main, like milks, waters, everything else, if you go gram per milliliter, it's about the same. 350. So get that in cold water, not even warm water. Why are we doing that? Well, we do it cold water because we're going to mix it in the machine, and the machine, as it's needing, generates heat in the dough. So that's going to warm it up, and that's fine. So come on, let's get going, Jace. I'm being too tentative here. I just don't want to over add me water. Let's get that a little bit. Probably should just weigh this out first, but I haven't. 349. Go on, get the last gram in there. Yeah, there we go. Get the last grams in there. So without further ado, let's get the machine on slow speed. So I'm going to tidy my mess up. Come on, get your mess tidied up, Jace. Get your mess, get your scales away. Put your dough away, get rid of your jugs. All of that. Not your dough away. Your yeast. Get that back in the fridge. So interesting. See what happens. So that's gone. Starting to get the dry stuff in. I'm going to get that on the go. That's it. The stuff from the sides is in, and I'm going to mix that now. Yeah, it's getting there. Mix that now. 15 minutes. What I'm looking for is that to be elastic, stretchy, smooth. When I lift it, you know, it is a smooth texture all the way. Maybe a little bit shiny, not really shiny, but there's some oil in there, so it does help to give it some shine. And that's it. And we'll come back, see what that looks like. We'll get it shaped up in a bowl and let that rest. We'll come back when it's finished, have a look, and then get it shaped. So that's it for now. So experiment for today is fresh yeast versus dry yeast, and we're completely changing the flour as well. Maybe I shouldn't have done two things at once, but I know I used this the other day with some finger bulls, and that turned out okay. I was happy with the results there, so let's give that a go. So we'll get back to you soon, and I will see you at the end of this. So bye for now. Take care.